So when it comes to like me and God,
Yeah.
God wants to tell me something. He can either speak to me, give me a dream or vision. I was seeing a baby. I was seeing my baby. I was constantly. I finally took the test, and yes, I was pregnant.
Wow.
You know, they did my scan for me. I deeped that I was supposed to be hearing a heartbeat, and there was no heartbeat. And she just says, "I'm so sorry."
Yo guys, it's your boy Beebs, and of course guys, we're back with another episode of Burning. If you don't know what burning is where we come to ask the burning questions, right? So we like to have honest, open and transparent conversations. We'll just see where the conversation goes. And so guys, listen, today guys, the guest is, I don't even know how to describe it. The guest is someone who God used to orchestrate all of this. I actually mentioned it on the very first episode of Burning, that she's the one who came to me first when I was doing what I used to do on YouTube or whatever, yeah. And she told me like, Aviv, I don't really think your content is you. But honestly, I'm so grateful for her life. She's an amazing person, so nice, so lovely to be around. Yeah, guys, America's Next Top Model on the way. So let's give it up for Ayo Pierce.
Hi guys.
And so yeah, just introduce yourself, of course, and talk about what you do a little bit.
Hi guys, so my name's Ayo. What do I do?
You do a lot.
Basically, social media. I don't think I would even call myself an influencer anymore. I just call myself a creative. I'm a creator. That's what I do, literally full time, all the time. And that's me.
Okay, that's you, man. And so listen, of course, we see you're breaking the internet. You know what I'm saying? That picture in front of the tube did numbers.
Yeah.
Did
230K
likes is insane. 230K likes. Top of that, listen, you're out every day with PLT. You're in different countries every single week, literally every single week. Yeah. And it's like, I remember when you started social media, and I remember when you first did 10K actually, and like that was like huge. But it's like to see where you've grown to now, and to see the levels that you're hitting now, the people that you're working with, the people that you know, and where God has brought you, it's amazing to see, honestly. And like one thing that makes me happy as well is like obviously the fact that, you know, you're a Christian, and it's like, you're not confined to like the traditional ways of doing things, you know? It's like your lifestyle is out there, but it's also in here in terms of just with faith. Like you're everywhere, you know, and it's amazing to see, man.
Yeah, it is like a big thing for me, the fact that I'm a Christian as well. And I feel like one of the big conversations that I had with myself, well, me and God at the start of the year, was in regards to my influence.
Yeah.
What exactly I'm, influencing people to do, what exactly I'm influencing people to be. And it was a case where God was just revealing a lot of things, the levels of it, because I feel like sometimes I suffer from imposter syndrome. I'm just like in my head where I don't think anybody really knows me or anybody's really paying attention, even though a lot of people are. And people would be like, it got to a point where people would like even stop me on the street, like for pictures.
Oh, wow.
And for whatever, or I went to Canada just there, and I went to Sephora, and one of the girls at the cashier, she was like, "You're Ayo Pierce."
Wow. In Canada, that's crazy.
And there was one time I went out as well. So it happened twice in Canada. A girl came up to me and was like, "Oh my God, I follow you. I love your content." I remember even being in London recently. I went to Starbucks. This lady at the till, she was like, "You're Ayo, I follow you." And I was just like,
wow.
Oh, there's a lot of people who actually know who I am. And I feel like one of the big conversations that I was having with myself and with God was that, what do I influence people to do? In what aspect do I influence people? When I was going out and I was clubbing and posting shots or whatever, and like, okay, people are gonna be like, see, like young girls would be like, see me and be like, oh, I want to go out, I want to go clubbing, I want to do shots, I want to wear this, I want to do that. And I was just thinking to myself, when I get to heaven, because I'm going to heaven,
of course,
when I get to heaven, and I'm having that conversation with God, looking back at what I did, how am I going to explain that 100 people did this because I did this? And I put it out there that I did this. So 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people did this because I did this. And I was like, okay, I don't want that to be what the conversation I'm having with God when I get there. So I was like, okay, you know what? I need to start.
Yeah.
I know I'm young and I'm obviously still learning and experiencing myself, but at the same time, I have a big gift.
Of course.
Influence is a gift. It's
absolutely
not like just something that, it was a gift. It was something that God had planned for me before I ever got here. It was a gift.
Yeah.
And it's very important that like I became aware that I shouldn't misuse my gift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's very important for me, like every day, to share something, even if it's like a Bible. People who would not read their Bible every day, I'm probably reading your Bible every day from my stories. Every day, you're gonna see something. You're gonna see something, and I'm so proud about like my faith. Like you have to know. And one thing that I really love as well is the kind of spaces that I'm in. Like I'm always around just like artists, like musicians, creatives, like whatever. I'm always around a lot of big people.
Yeah.
And for me, like everybody just like I'm just known as that. I will 1000% talk to you about God. I'm asking you like about God.
Yeah.
No matter where it is, no matter who you are, I'm bringing it into conversation. It's like one thing to be posting about something, and then it's another thing to be out in them spaces actually being like, oh, like, by the way, like, have you given your life to Christ? Are you saved? Like,
absolutely.
Are you good? And for me, it's just a blessing to be able to have those kind of conversations with people and to be able to share my faith and to have the confidence to share my faith. That's what I do.
And it's beautiful, man. Like, honestly, because I'm telling you, I be seeing the posts, and whenever I see the posts, I be so happy because it's like you said, like, you could post anything. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to post that. But the fact that you see, or like you have that calling within you to do that, it's amazing, man. And so, yeah, like, one thing I want to ask though, and I ask every guest who comes on, right, is how did you get saved?
How did I get saved?
Yeah.
It's a very heavy question. Very heavy question. How did I get saved?
And we need the details. All the details. Yeah.
Whew, okay. I will say, from my personal opinion, I've been like officially saved like since this time last year, actually.
Okay.
Before that, I've had love for God like my whole life.
Yeah.
Obsessed, like primary school days. Me and my Bible were like, I loved reading the Bible. I loved praying, even fasting. Like when I was in primary school, I would fast like every week.
Wow.
Like it's just something I loved. I loved just being in the presence of God all the time. And then I grew up, and for me, I grew up in a white garment church. We have very different ways of worshiping.
Absolutely, yeah.
Other people do. And around this time last year, maybe beforehand, something wasn't sitting well with me, like just in my spirit. I would go to church and I would be very angry. So I would be like, this is wrong, like this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And I got to a point where I was like, this is wrong, I can't be here anymore. I can't go to church anymore. I'm not comfortable going to church anymore. So I'm stepping away. There's a lot of practices in that church, but I don't want to get too much into it. A lot of practices in the church I was growing up in that I was like becoming hyper aware of, things I wasn't aware of when I was growing up, that I was like, this is not right, and we shouldn't be practicing this. Or things like, when kind of culture kind of meets religion.
Absolutely, like, yeah. Especially as Nigerians, yeah.
Yeah, as Nigerians, where it's like, I'm praying for something, and according to the church, because I want something so bad, I have to go to like the river and do some whatever, and I'm like, why would I have to do that? Like,
the Bible don't say that.
I just pray?
Yeah.
Just things that I was questioning. That's like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So I actually stepped away from the church. And when I stepped away from the church, I got into a very bad relationship, very toxic relationship that opened me up to a lot of bad stuff. Opened me up to a lot of bad stuff. I tried a lot of stuff that I wouldn't normally try. I was all the way where I shouldn't have been. And I can't say that I was away from God, because God is with me all the time. Absolutely. But during them times, I had opened myself up to a lot of demonic stuff. And I'm a very spiritually sensitive stuff. So during this period of time, I was actually seeing a lot of stuff. I was seeing sometimes when I was with this person or whatever, I would see spirits, or like in my sleep, I would see like witches like surrounding me, or like just dark stuff, just a lot of stuff. And the funniest part about this, with everything that I was seeing, I was just like, I'd wake up and I'd just be like, oh. Yeah, just, yeah. I go, that's just, I was very like, they say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that was weird, but I'm just gonna like keep living my best life and just ignore all of this. And there was just like a lot of stuff that was happening. And then last year I had something very serious and kind of insane happen to me that changed the course of everything. Like, this was like the biggest, like, I've been through a lot in my life, but nothing tops this. Like, this was like, whoa, like, okay, this is life. And this was what, like, I guess this was the catalyst for me being actually saved.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go and get into it.
Okay.
So exactly this time last year, I was in a very bad relationship. I guess this would be the start, is when I had a lump in my breast that was growing very big, and on my mom's side of the family, like, breast cancer was a thing, like some women had lost their breasts, whatever. So this is kind of what started now. I had to go in to get, like, my tests done, whatever, had my surgery booked in, had to get it taken out. And yeah, this is the start. So went in, had my surgery, it went well, thank God. But I was very, very sick afterwards.
Okay.
I was very, very sick. I was waiting for my results to see if it was cancerous or non-cancerous, but they already kind of figured that it wasn't cancerous. However, they never did. It was a very weird process. They never did any, like, blood tests on me, whatever. They just kind of went straight to the surgery. I don't know if that's
Crazy.
normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were like, we're going to let you know in, like, about 2 weeks to see what the lump is, we're going to do. So before this time, like 2-3 months ago. So when it comes to, like, me and God, God wants to tell me something. He can either speak to me, he can give me a dream or vision or whatever. Like 2-3 months leading up to this, I was seeing a baby, my baby.
Wow.
I was seeing my baby as constantly. I've seen a baby girl that looked exactly like me. And constantly. And I said to my mom, like, I'm having a baby soon. She was like, okay. I was like, I can see it. I'm having a baby soon. I'm having a baby girl soon. And this vision was constantly coming over and over and over and over again. And then I just kind of, like, left it. I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to, you know, settle down, have a kid, whatever. This is great. And this is one thing as well that I had actually been praying for. Like, my wants back then were very different. I never actually wanted, like, marriage or whatever. I wanted a kid. And it's one of the things I actually prayed for going into here. I know it's crazy, but I asked God, like, to make me financially stable enough to have a child. And then I wanted a kid. So when I was seeing the visions, I was like, oh my God, like, answer prayers. But anyway, during this time that I was sick and waiting for my results, I was very sick. I was like, nah, I got cancer, like, God forbid. But I was like, this has to be, like, there's no reason for me to be this sick. My mental health was so bad. I was just so sick. I could barely get out of bed. Obviously, my, like, surgery site was healing. I was very, very, very sick. And then I have to rewind as well to before this, maybe like a week or two before I had my surgery. I remember I was on a night out, I was in Berlin. And as I was leaving the club, I heard God tell me, stop drinking alcohol, stop smoking. And I'm more obedient than disobedient. So I was like, okay, cool. I didn't know why, but I was like, okay, I guess this is the time to stop all of this. Stop drinking, stop smoking. So I did. So this whole time I was okay, I'm abstaining from everything. I had my surgery. And then my results came back and everything was clear, thank God. But I was still very, very, very sick. And next thing you know, my period is late. And I'm like, okay.
Forget it, let it go.
So, like, whatever. So traveling, doing my thing. I was very, very, very unwell. And at this point, like, I was so well aware that I was with child. I was so aware, but I was just like, you know what? Like, let me not even do whatever. Like, let me not. So I was just kind of ignoring it. I was still seeing things. I was still dreaming. I was dreaming very vividly every night. I was, at this point as well, I don't know why, I was like extra spiritually sensitive. So I had to spend a lot of my time with God, constantly praying. At the time as well, I'm fasting once a week. I would go to church like 3 times a week. I was so spiritually sensitive that I had to isolate myself from everything else that I kind of shouldn't have been in. I was just in like that place with God.
Yeah.
During this time. So I was heightened to a lot of things. During that time I was prophesying like crazy. Like not one day would go by where I wouldn't have something to tell, and it was like a lot for me. Like there was just a lot going on, like in the spirit realm anyway, while I was a child. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore this. I'm gonna wait. And then got to the point where, you know, I finally took the test, and yes, I was pregnant.
Wow.
You know when you take the test and, you know, you're supposed to wait 2 minutes?
Yeah.
I didn't even get a chance to, as I was literally peeing on the stick, like
Wow.
2 strong lines. I was like, not even like a second to think and process this. But I was like,
straight results is crazy.
Straight results. I was like, okay, I'm pregnant. I'm expecting a baby. I was just like, so many emotions. I was like, oh goodness. And like I said, my partner was not the person I was supposed to be with at all. So during the time that I was expecting, I was still like in that place with God, still trying my best to fast, even though I wasn't feeling too good. I was like still trying my best to fast, being in church, whatever. I was like, okay, I'm expecting now. I need to, all my prayer, everything in my life is now revolved around what's to come.
Exactly.
So, this is so like emotional for me. But so as time went on, the person that I was with was stressing me out like a lot. There was a lot of stuff that was going on I was under a very high level of stress. There was just a lot going on that I was trying to figure out, trying to prepare, trying to get ready. I need to move, I need to do whatever. I need to plan around work, everything. So basically, I remember this day like it was yesterday. And guys, I'm going to have to put a trigger warning because I'm about to say it's very heavy. But I was home literally the day before. I had applied like for a few like viewings for a new place.
Yeah.
That night as well, I had a dream that I was in my mom's place. I had my daughter in my hands.
Wow.
We had given her like her first bath, and I was just like drying her off and bringing her into my mom's room. And I woke up so like happy and so full of joy, and I went to the toilet and I just seen blood. Right. And I was like, oh my God, panicking, like there's no way, like I'm tripping, like. So I got a taxi to the hospital. They seen me and they did my scan for me, and I could see the baby on the screen, but it looked not right. Like it was like the baby in the sack was not like one piece. It was like
yeah.
And I was just thinking that like, oh, you know, I've never been to like an ultrasound. Maybe, you know, they was hiding. She was the doctors. I was going along like, oh, I'm looking around. She was looking around, not really, whatever. And then I deeped that I was supposed to be hearing a heartbeat, and there was no heartbeat. And I was like, oh my God. And I literally let out a tear, and I say, where is my baby? And she just says, I'm so sorry.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my, like literally the interaction lasted about 30 seconds. She let me leave after, and I just went home, and I was just sobbing, crying. Like I was so heartbroken. And during this time, there's just a lot of stuff going on, just the people around me. But during this time, I didn't realize how alone I really was. I was so alone. I was literally like ridiculous. Like it was just me and God. Like God was just the only one that was with me during this time. I was so alone, depressed, heartbroken. Nobody, family, nobody was there. Like it was just me and God. And I remember going home and being like, wow, I really, even my mom, like when I was I texted her on the way to the hospital. I was like, okay, I'm bleeding, da da da. She seen the message, didn't reply. And then when I told her I lost the baby, she didn't even call me. She just texted me. She goes, how could you lose your first baby? Mm-hmm. And it then became that my family was like, how did you lose your first? Like, it was like that kind of stigma. Like, how did you miss? Like, how did you lose? And they were all like kind of accusing me. Like, did you take something? Did you whatever? And I'm like, I'm going through like grief already. I'm not about to start proving to people that I didn't do something to harm my child.
Yeah.
And so I just isolated. And in that time, I wasn't really educated on how this type of stuff goes. So I was bleeding, but it was very light. I was bleeding very lightly, which I didn't realize was not normal. So a few days had gone by, 6-7 days had gone by, just very light bleeding, very light blood clots. And then I think the 7th day is when I started literally fighting for my life. I was in excruciating pain.
Wow.
I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was like, it was like an 2-hourly thing, not realizing that I was going into labor and I was having contractions. So I couldn't hack the pain, so I took myself to the hospital. Oh my God, the most traumatic day of my life. I know it wasn't a full-sized baby, but the pain of contractions was insane. Like, I was losing I was on the highest amount of drugs. Nothing could stop that pain. And I had one friend with me who left work to come like see me, and I could not, like, they had to put me in a separate room because in the waiting room I was with other pregnant like women, and I'm like, I can't stay here, like my baby's literally dead. I'm not going to sit in another room with pregnant woman while I'm in this amount of pain. So I was having contractions. I would say like I was in like a labor for like about 8 hours.
Wow.
Very long time.
Wow.
In a serious amount of pain.
Yeah.
And so then let's say when it came to like 7th, 8th hour, the pain was unbearable, and that's when I started like gushing blood. Wow. I was screaming bloody murder. They had about 7 nurses come in. I was rushed straight to the chair. They're like, we're going to have to put you into surgery. You're so small that your baby's stuck.
Wow.
Baby can't come out. Your baby's stuck. And I was just there screaming, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And my friend was there. She was praying for me. And I'm telling you, if she was not there covering me in prayer, I think I would have died.
Wow.
Because I did. Like, my soul did slip. They had to, like I did die. Like, wow. The pain was so bad that I did, like, my soul was literally hovering. I remember it, like, literally, like it was yesterday. Like, my soul literally slipped. It was like, yeah, like, this is it. And, you know, they had me on the gas. They're just like, you just have to push. Like, you have to, and if you can't get it out on your own, we have to put you into, emergency surgery. And after a certain amount of time, it came out. And I was just seeing my deformed baby just there, and I was like, oh my God. Like, it was really a traumatic experience for me. And in that time afterwards, they let me go like the next morning. In that whole period,
the next morning is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had no support, like, from the hospital, there was just no support at all from anybody, apart from that one friend. And it's so crazy because that one friend I literally had met, and I know God put her in my life specifically. I literally met her probably the exact same time that I fell pregnant. And she was there for me, the only one there for me that whole period. And now we barely even talk anymore. Like, she was specifically there just for that, to hold me in prayer. She was like my physical person that was there, always covering me in prayer. So I went home the next morning, trying to process, you know, everything that's happened. Was on my own, and I was feeling a lot of things. I wanted literally like the world to burn. I had a lot of rage, a lot of anger. I was so angry, and at first I was looking for supports for help, and then my search went from supports for people who've suffered a miscarriage to where I can find poison and like the quickest way to kill myself. And I was like, so like I made up my mind. I was like, I want to go to where my baby is. And in that time as well, that I was so sensitive, hearing so much from the devil as well, hearing things like, I took your baby type thing. And I'm like praying to God, like, God, please, I hope my baby's back with you and not somewhere else. And just hearing a lot of things, I was literally losing my mind. And even though the baby was dead, I was still praying, like, for this dead baby, like, where did this baby go? Like, I need to know, God, that my baby is, like, back with you, like, or I'm going to lose my mind. And it was just a crazy, 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 crazy time for me. And then a week, 2 weeks later, I was out to see a friend and I was coming back home. And on the bus back to mine, I started feeling a little bit weird. I was like losing my vision. My vision was blurry. My orientation was off. So I called my friend. I was like, something is wrong. I'm feeling like something is wrong. So can you just stay on call with me? So I was walking. I was close to home and I couldn't speak anymore. I lost my speech. And then next thing you know, I lost my movements. I lost everything. I was just stuck. I had to sit. Like my friend was just like, sit. As I sat, I lost everything. I was paralyzed, basically.
Okay.
And she got someone to come pick me up, brought me to the hospital. So she had to like carry me into her car to bring me to the hospital. On the way, I was completely unresponsive. And I remember being in her car, she was like panicking on the phone, like, what do I do? And then she felt me for a pulse. And then she couldn't feel my pulse. But I could hear everything. I just could not, like, no part of my body could react. I couldn't speak. Yeah. And then she starts screaming, crying. She's like, she has no pulse. She's dead in my car. And I'm trying everything in myself to give her a response so she stops panicking. So she's like, no, I'm not dead, like I'm still here or whatever. And I try my best, try my very best, and I just make like a grunt. And then she's like, okay, she's grunting, she's alive. So we get to the hospital. Everyone's rushing out to get me, to bring me in on some tests. I was completely unresponsive yet, but I was awake. Like, you could see that I was awake. And I couldn't tell you what exactly happened, but I just lost like all my motor responses. I couldn't, whatever. So they now transferred me, and at this point I was starting to be able to like make grunting sounds or grunting responses. So I was like to myself that I can't accept this right now. I'm not accepting this for myself. So I was like, I made it, you have to push yourself. You can't stay like this. Yeah. You have to push yourself. Yeah. And I had to push myself. I was like, I have to get up. So I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. I pushed and pushed. And I stood up. And everything was just like back to normal.
Thank God.
And then the doctor was like, we need to do some brain scans on you. You've been through a lot of trauma in the past few weeks and whatever. And I was like, cool. And as soon as the doctor left me for 2 weeks, I left the hospital. Wow. I was like, no, I left the hospital. I was so traumatized. I was like, I'm not like staying in the hospital. I'm not in any way doing any scans on me. I'm not doing whatever. And I left and I went home. And during this whole time, at first I was very, very angry at God. I was fuming. I was like, God, there's no way that you would let all of this happen to me. There's no way that you'd give me a child and let me know that I was going to have the child and then take it away from me. And it was a thing where even my family, I had like my aunties and stuff, like people come to tell them, by the way, someone in your family is going to have a child. So this is like something that was seen, like it wasn't like a surprise. It was something that I knew was coming. And for all of this to happen, everything to be ripped away from me, I was fuming. I was bitter. I was all the negative emotions that you could possibly think of. And that's when the spirit of depression, spirit of anxiety, something that used to deal with me very seriously before, and that's when it came back knocking. But I was in such a state of rage that when the spirit of depression, anxiety came back, I was like, absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not accepting this for myself. And although all of this was happening, nobody would have known, because this was the same time that I got nominated for my Insta Stellar Award. This is the same time that I went on TV, did a live makeup tutorial on TV. My career was booming. But I was seriously struggling on the other hand, because I was in the middle of, like, you know, grieving my loss. And it was everything was like, it's not like, oh, this happened and then it was the exact same time. Yeah. So during this whole time, I was never able to actually enjoy and be happy about anything because of everything else that was going on. Yeah. And I remember during this time just being like, I need everything to just pause for a second, and I need to reevaluate and start again. And I was like, God, I don't want to be with you anymore. I need you to talk to me, and I need you to help me get through this. And this is what I'll say that everything started. During this time that I was spending time with God during my healing process, he was revealing a lot of things to me about myself. He was revealing a lot of things to me, and he was separating me from a lot of things and a lot of people. Okay. And from the time that God had told me to stop smoking, stop drinking, I did. I stuck to that. So I've been, over 1 year sober from smoking.
Let's go.
I stuck to it. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I need to start doing things differently. I need to start changing things, because I was no longer angry at God then. I was fuming at the devil. I was fuming.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was ready. I had my sword. I was ready. I was reading them. I was fuming. I was fighting. And this is when things started to break loose, and a lot of things started to kind of reveal themselves. And during this time, the person that I was with, that toxic relationship, he ended up being sent away. Okay.
Okay. I don't know what that means. He's gone. He's gone.
Away.
Yeah.
So in this time now that this person wasn't there to distract me anymore, and God had my undivided attention, it was a very, very intense time. And this was like the time this is when I got saved. This is when I got saved. And everything changed. So by the time this person came back, I was like, it's done. Like,
this is over.
Everything is over. And I remember this is when God told me to move. I left for Germany, to Berlin. God told me to leave and go there. And the day that he told me, the next day I got a place.
Wow, quick.
And the next day I also booked a flight. My flight there was like €15. And I was like, this is very, very easy. It's not something I wanted to do because I had to leave everything. He also told me to get rid of everything. I had to get rid of all my stuff, all my clothes, everything.
Leave everything behind, literally, yeah.
Everything had to go. So I went with like 2-3 suitcases of stuff, just like basic essentials, but everything had to go. And while I was cleaning out and doing that whole process, there was just so many things that I was finding that I had held on to from years ago. And it's just like, he just let me know that there was a very heavy load that I was carrying from so much stuff from my past, that like this is the time to like let everything go, because where he wants to take me to, I can't bring all that stuff with me. I can't bring a lot with me. I need to leave everything. Yeah. So I was like, cool. I was very like, wow, like I had a really nice place in Dublin. I had to leave everything, and I was like, okay, like, God, I'm trusting you. So please, please do what you say you want to do for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I left and I went. And for the first month, I was in, I guess, a period of isolation. I also wasn't getting bookings. I wasn't like getting anything. So it was just me and God in in where I was, in the place that I was renting, me and God, 24/7, and he was speaking to me 24/7, and I was reading the word, but what I was reading, I wasn't reading aimlessly. He would tell me exactly what to read and where to go to, and he would tell me, it was, I don't know how to explain it because it's crazy. It was intense Bible study. Like, I would read something and he would tell me exactly what it is that I'm supposed to get from it. So everything was just like so specific and strategic, and I was just in this little space of learning. And so that's when, like, what will I call this process? I would say this is when I started dying.
To self?
Yes.
Okay.
And everything started changing, and I started deleting Instagram posts. I deleted like all my TikToks. I deleted a lot of stuff. I threw out like all of my little skimpy clubbing, whatever. Everything was being thrown out. There was places I wasn't clubbing anymore. Obviously, I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing whatever. I had cut out a lot of stuff naturally, not because I'm like, oh, the Bible says this, so I have to. It just was natural. Like I hadn't, whatever. I remember there was one day that I had received a package from PLT, and I put on the package, and it was like turtlenecks and long dresses and whatever. And this was the day that I stopped, and I said, God, wait, hold on a minute, because we didn't talk about this before. We didn't talk about this. Obviously, I'm the one who chose the clothes.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm thinking,
like, when did the switch take place? Yeah.
So I was like, hold up a second, like, God, let me pull the reins back a little bit. I'm sorry, but we have to talk about this. You have to come to compromise, because something is gonna have to, whatever. And then there's a lot of stuff that was happening that was changing within me. My heart posture was changing completely. I was becoming like a lot softer, rather than being so hard and tough and whatever. A lot softer, a lot more forgiving. There was just so much that was going on. And then the time came where God told me that God revealed something to me in a dream of what I was dealing with. And it was like, it's time for you to get delivered from this thing. And I did the whole process. I did the deliverance process. And from then on, also, I was delivered from the spirit of lust.
Wow, we thank God.
Delivered from the spirit of lust, and I became celibate, which is something that I never, ever thought I could do. Never thought I could do. That was like not something that I would ever achieve, but I did.
We thank God for that.
Have been celibate, and it was just crazy, because then with my family and with the church and whatever, I had to also start putting my foot down and being like, God is revealing these things to me about this church. I can't go here anymore. I can't partake in these things anymore. There was this thing that I was dealing with, which they had told me in that church, which was true, because God also told me that this is what you're dealing with. However, the way that they told me to handle it in that church was, I don't even know if I should be out in this like that, but it was crazy. They were like, you have to go to the beach. You have to buy this and that and whatever, Or it was like a thing where it was like, if you don't do this, you're not going to be able to get married, and you're not going to be able to do this, and you're not going to be able to whatever.
What? And
I said to myself, if that's the case, I would rather be faithful to God and not get married than do whatever it is. I'm not doing this. Yeah. And my parents would kind of come be like, oh, you need to do. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to this. I'm not whatever. And it was like a constant rebellion, because it's a case where I'm in my line of work. I'm also doing something that's non-traditional. And then I've also left the church. And it's not like just my parents. It's my grandparents. It's like a family thing. It's like a deep family thing. So this is just, they've just seen me now as this person who's just rebelling completely and just going
against the grain type of thing.
And it got to a point where even like my dad, you know, it's weird when your dad is sitting you down and telling you that you're becoming too religious, you need to dial down, because I stopped listening to secular music as well. Wow. You're becoming too religious, you need to reel it in. You need to, whatever, you're going to, like, you're getting too spiritual, you're getting too whatever, you need to dial it down. And I was like, Daddy, I don't think this is good advice that you're giving me. I don't think I can ever be too spiritual. But it was like a big thing for everybody around me, that it was like, I'm going this way. on Jesus, and I'm so down bad about
so
Jesus.
Down
Like,
for it, yeah.
it's like Jesus. And then like even my TikToks, like my dad will comment on my TikToks, be like, "Our mummy Gio" or something, just saying without me. Like it got to that, and it was just like every time like I would see him, and obviously I wasn't drinking alcohol. He was like, "You need to chill." I remember there was a time he was like, "When you come back home, we're gonna have a drink together." I was like, "I'm not having a drink with you." Or like over Christmas, and he was playing like his own music, and I was like, "Can we switch it to gospel?" He was like,
What's going on?
He was like, "Can I live my life? Like, if you want to do whatever, like, can I live my life?" And I was just like, "No, we have to, like, when I'm home, we have to pray together. We have to do this. Like, this is this. Like, guys, we need to be in the spirit. We need to be, you know." And during all of that, I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot, even when I started posting about God.
Pruning,
lost a lot of followers, lost a lot of engagement, lost a lot of whatever. But this is when I was saved, like, completely. Like, I died. She died. Whoever she was, she died.
Wow.
And I remember when I realized this, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be so transparent. I cried and I mourned my old self. I really did, because I was like, she was a baddie. I was like, she was a baddie. Like, she was that girl. And, well, she's dead. She's gone.
Yeah.
And God had to, like, you know, tell me that, yeah, she's dead. She was actually not a good person, and she was not that girl. But I'm going to show you who you are now.
Wow.
You're going to get to know yourself now. And there's just lots of things. And I'm not saying now that, oh, because I'm saved, I'm perfect, I'm this, I'm that. So far away from perfect. Like, I'm so far away from perfect. However, in God's eyes, he's let me know how he sees me.
Absolutely.
And how no matter what it is that's been in my past, or no matter whatever, he still sees me as something so, like, precious to him, and he still loves me so much. And I had to start walking in that love and realizing that love, and that love is kind of what kept me warm them times when I was alone and I didn't know where my next paycheck was going to come from. I didn't know how I was going to do this. I didn't know how I was going to do whatever. And he was there to tell me that, like, he made me a promise, actually, and if God makes you a promise,
he's gonna
you
keep
don't need
that
to worry
promise.
about nothing.
Yeah, you're gonna keep that promise.
As soon as I got the promise, I was like, okay, grand. Like, and I was literally like walking on clouds. And sometimes that people try to humble me and be like, you're living in Delulu land.
Yeah.
And I'm just let me live.
Let me be. Yeah.
Let me live in whatever reality it is I want to live in. And ever since, like, God is just like, I can't even express, like, I can't put into words how much I love God and I love Jesus. Like, sometimes I be thinking about, like, God, and I'm just kicking my feet, and I'm just like, like, the love, like, I can't express, like, how warm that love and that feeling is, that I had the privilege, and I call it a privilege. It was such a privilege to be able to experience that, and to be able to experience God every day, and to be able to speak to him every day, and to have him to teach me and to instruct me every day. And the way that I think, the way that everything about me has just changed completely. And, you know, I will have sometimes that people will be like, oh, remember when you were like this? Remember when you were... I know I don't remember.
Yeah, she's dead.
I don't
she's
remember,
gone.
actually.
Yeah.
She doesn't exist anymore. I don't remember. And it got to a point as well where I was now, like, so in this place, and I was around my Christian friends or whatever, and they were like to me, like, okay, since you're this person now, you're now going to be, like, a Christian content creator, you know, like, posting Bible quotes on your feed and doing whatever. And I was like, hold up a second. And I had to reel back again and go into my private place with God and be like, first of all, I don't want anyone to put on me what I'm supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
God will instruct me to do whatever I need to do whenever the time is right, whenever and wherever it is that I need to be. But then the pressure of that started to get to me. And then I realized as well that the more I was posting about God and the more I was doing whatever, I was now becoming, how do I put it? There's this Bible quote, I can't remember what it is, but it's about, like, pleasing man over God.
Yeah.
And then became a thing where I wanted to look like a good Christian rather than actually be.
Yeah, I
and
get you.
It came to whatever I wanted to do. I remember when I went to south of France, and I got a few bikini pictures, and I was about to post, and I was like, what are people going to say about me? They're going to be like, oh, she's a Christian. She's posting, like, in a bikini, whatever. I remember God saying to me, hold on a second, is this about them or is this about me now? Like, what is your intention really about, like, your thought process? Your thought process is not right now.
Yeah.
And I remember I posted the picture, and I remember my dad called me afterwards, and I was like, oh, he's about to tell me that. And then he wanted to say something completely else. And I was like, oh, I tell you, when talk to me about the pictures I posted. He was like, you were on the beach. Like, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, okay. And I just realized then that there's something wrong, because now I'm thinking about how other people are seeing me.
Yeah, as
how
opposed to...
I want to be seen as a good Christian, as a good role model. And that's not the point. The point is that I'm pleasing God, not people. The point is about how God sees me. And, you know, nonetheless, people should still see his light through me, and I should still be a good example. But I was never meant to
please man.
Exactly.
Here to please God, yeah. So
just so many, like, learning processes and whatever. But after the whole health issues, miscarriage, whatever, by the way, after that miscarriage, it took a very, very long time, about 6 months for my health to go back to normal.
Wow.
My health was really, really bad. I remember being in Berlin and just thinking about it and praying. And I asked God, normally when I talk to God and I ask God something, I'll hear back straight away. It's a conversation, like it's a back and forth straight away. So this time I asked God, you know, you never really told me what you thought about that whole thing that happened, miscarriage, whatever. I never actually got your opinion on it. And I was like, do you have anything to say to me? And for the first time in a really long time, I heard silence. So I was like, okay, if you have nothing to say, that's completely fine. And I just let it go. And I remember, like, 10 minutes later, he gave me Isaiah 54. Can I read it?
Yeah, of course.
Isaiah 54. And when I read it, I was like, this, because I was wondering as well, like, I remember in that prayer I asked him, is there anything in the Bible that talks about this thing that I had been through? And I think I Googled it, I couldn't find anything. So then he gave me Isaiah 54, and Isaiah 54:1 says, sing, barren woman, you who never bore a child, burst into song, shout for joy, you who are never in labor, because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, says the Lord. And I was like, God, thank you for that. That was very sweet. It warmed my heart so much to know that he did have something to say about it. And it wasn't a case of like, oh, this is just so shameful that I got pregnant before marriage, I lost a baby, and I whatever. And it basically like stripped me of all of that shame. It's just God telling me that no, everything is okay. And your time for all of this will come. And I was just like, and I knew from the time that everything was happening, I knew that this was something that I was going to have to share, because it would be a story that would like touch a lot of people, help a lot of people. However, for a long time, I was like, just myself. I wasn't ready for what was to hit me and the judgment that was to hit me. And I was just like, God, when you want me to share this, or when I'm ready to share this, just I pray that I'm completely healed. So whatever comes at me, I'm ready to take it. And I'm ready to be okay with whatever people say or however people treat me. Because as you know, being in the public figure, people don't always see me as a human being. I think that, oh, she's
very
just
weird.
far up there and she's just like not real. But I have real emotions and things really affect me, you know. And I just want to say that this whole, as devastating as the whole process was for me, if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be in this place where I am now with God. It was, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom for you to finally get to that place that you need to get to. And that was my rock bottom. Like, that was the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. And that's where I found Jesus. I found Jesus when I was rock bottom, and he's been with me and he's stuck with me ever since. And when I tell you, like, he's literally my best, like, there's nothing I won't do that I'm not like, God, like, would you, even when it comes down to what I'm gonna eat, like,
yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, everything is like, God, everything is just like centered around him. And I just love the way that he's teaching me new things every day, and even just teaching me the whole time that I was in Germany, he was teaching me a lot about myself and personal character traits and how to change certain things. And I remember specifically he said to me that there's certain things that I need to heal from and learn, before I could step into the next season. Skills that I would need to have before stepping into the next season.
Yeah.
There's things where I know I'm already like a person of influence now, but my influence is just gonna grow. And to have a certain level of influence, you have to have a certain level of skills to manage certain things.
It's facts.
And he had been putting me in that training process. And even just with, let's say, like clothes or whatever, I'm not going to say that I'm completely modest or whatever, but he did let me know that the places that you are about to step in, you need to dress like royalty. You can't just dress anyway, you can't just act anyway, even the way that you carry yourself, the way that you speak, cursing, curse words, whatever, you need to act your status. Like, you need to know.
I love that.
Your status. You need to know how I see you, so that you can carry yourself the way you're supposed to be carried, and the way people can see you the way they're supposed to see you. And it was just a big thing for me. And then it came to a point where I remember this girl that I was living with, sharing the house with in Berlin, and she's probably gonna watch this. She was dealing with a lot of stuff at the time, wasn't really in touch with God, whatever. She was, into like kind of like dark feminine kind of vibe. We were polar opposites, and we got really close. We were spending a lot of time together. And I remember one night we went out, and when we came back, and we were just talking about a lot of our experiences. And she said to me, "I want to try what you tried.
Wow.
I want to give my life to Jesus."
Wow.
And that night, she did. And for me, it was just like, for you to be able to see him through me was already like amazing.
Yeah.
Like, he's really, he's really with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness. And from there on, apart from that, I had so many other people come to me and be like, even creators, I see that you're a Christian. I want to have more confidence in sharing my faith on my platforms as well. Or I want to, whatever. A lot of people coming to me for now advice in regards to their faith.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't believe, God has put me in a position where they were coming to me. I would think that I would be the last person that anybody would come to. And I remember even my friend telling me just so many things. She'd be like, telling me like, oh, Aya, you're becoming a Proverbs 31 woman. And I was like, no way. Because back then, when I tell you how in the world I was reading Proverbs 31, and I said, God, I do not want to be her. I don't like nothing about her. She works really hard. She wakes up really early. I don't think I like this. And then for people to be saying it to me that like, oh, you're becoming a Proverbs 31 woman. And then I was like happy to be that woman. I was like, wow, like I don't even recognize myself.
Yeah.
It was just so different. And it's just like, even just anywhere that I step, anywhere that I go to, the kind of conversations that I have with people who, and God speaks through me a lot to people. There's a lot of...
He does. He does.
God speaks through me a lot. There's been a lot of situations, and I feel like this may be why he's put me in the places that I've been in, but people don't understand how it feels sometimes to be a public figure. I've been around people who have millions of followers who are dealing with a lot of things, and they will tell me like, I can't go to church because if I go to church, paparazzi are following me into church. If I go to a pastor with this problem, it's going to be in the news the next day. I don't have the privilege of doing so. There's a lot of people in the industry who are up there who can only pray in the corner of their rooms. They don't feel safe to be around other people of God or to go to church and go to whatever. And there's a lot of conversations that I've had where thankfully God is with me and he's put me in this place and he's being able to speak through me. But it's like, if I hadn't been saved before I got to meet these people, it would be a different situation. Like, I wouldn't have had that conversation to share the message that I need to share. And it's like, it's one thing to do things online on social media, but then also
another thing to live it out
in person. It's so important that in person people can see that light on you and people can see who you serve, and so much. And this is my prayer to God all the time, that I pray that people see God's hands in my life to the point where they're like, the God that she serves, I want to serve that same God.
Amen.
That's my prayer. And I just thank God for everything, the joy that I've been feeling. Even the past few months that like I said, the devil was really playing with me. All my jobs were on hold. Like I said, losing followers, engagement, everything. And the joy that I had, I was walking on clouds. I was so happy. Like, when they say a joy that people won't understand, peace that people won't understand. That's what God gave me.
We thank God
and
for
I
that.
was just walking on clouds. I can't say was, I am walking on clouds, holding on to God's promise and taking things step by step, you know, giving myself grace, you know, every time like I may fall back or stumble. Righteous fall 7 times and get back up. It's okay, we keep going.
Absolutely.
We keep going forward always. That's the story of how I became saved and left everything. And one thing that God has really taught me in the past few months is the power of faith. Faith, oh my goodness, is so important. Faith is so important. How far you go in life or how big you want God to bless you, it has to correlate with how big your faith is.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Christian creators on TikTok. I remember there was this one girl. She asked God for a car. She said, God, I do not want to pay for this car. I don't want to do. And in the next week, she got gifted a huge car. Like they just gave her the car.
Wow.
And she was telling her testimony that I literally prayed for this, and that type of faith, like don't ask for, oh God, I just need €100. I just need
Yeah.
no,
big faith, big results, baby.
This is literally
big
the creator of the entire universe. The creator of the entire universe. And I just want to say as well to anybody that's watching that there's no such thing as being too far gone into the world.
Absolutely not.
God literally created the universe. He created you. He knows everything about you. He knows how many strands of hair is on your head. And trust me, he knew all the stupid stuff you were going to do before you did it. And he still decided to love you. And he still loves you. There is no such thing as whatever. And if you're thinking, because sometimes I talk to people like, oh, if I was to walk into a church, I'd probably catch on fire.
Yeah, I hear that
Please
so
be
much.
for real.
Yeah, be so for real, please.
Be for real.
Be for real, girl.
Be for real. And I just also want to say that God is with you all the time. He's with you when you're in the club. He's with you when you're doing what you shouldn't be doing in the bed. He's there all the time. He's never leaving you. So you just have to like tap in. And one thing as well that was really important for me is that in becoming saved is finding my identity in Christ. I did struggle a lot with feeling like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am. Feeling like something is wrong. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. I don't know who I am. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm doing. And the reason why I was so confused about who I was is because I had detached my identity from Jesus, from God.
Yeah.
And I was also trying to fit myself in boxes that society had put for me. And I was constantly telling myself, I don't fit in. I was never meant to fit in. And I was trying to make an identity of myself in something that didn't make sense. And once I found my identity in Christ and I was reading the word, and guys, oh my God, the Bible, you got to read it. It's really good. There's some gems in there. I would be reading, and the Bible would literally be telling me about myself. Like, and I'd be like, wow, like, you know, I didn't know this. Now that I know this, thank you. But like, it's so important to find your identity in Christ, because the longer that you don't know who you are and you haven't figured out your identity, it's like a delay in where you need to get to. And that feeling for years, and I felt this for years, like 4 or 5 years of I don't know who I am, I don't know what I am, I don't know what my personality is, I don't know whatever. God literally shut down in the space of a matter of days of me just being with him in my word. Yeah. And I'm just so grateful that he did save me from everything. And when God saved me, it wasn't just like, oh, from one little everything, like as a whole, like he plucked me out completely. Wow. Like as a whole, and like that was that, and that was final. That's my story.
Listen, one thing I want to say is like, do you know, like while you were telling that whole story, I was looking at you, yeah? And it's like, it's making me so emotional because like, you see, the thing is, Satan's plan was that you wouldn't make it through everything that you made it through.
He wanted me dead.
And the fact that you're able to sit here today to tell your story, and not only tell your story, but give God glory in your story. Because like, even the fact that, you know, you were pregnant, the baby died, everything. It's like, that kind of stuff many people never come back from. But the fact that you came back from it, not only you came back from it, but you're here happy, healthy, smiling. It's just, there's just no other way that this could have happened without God. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's so beautiful to see. And I'm so glad that you told your story, because even when you were telling your story, it's like, you know, this thing doesn't show on you. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, even you talking about your health, I'm telling you, you got in the car today when I picked you up. I couldn't tell nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you look amazing. You're speaking so happy. It just makes me so happy to see that, you know? And so it's beautiful to see, man. And I'm so grateful for you to tell your story, because like you said, there's so many women out there that might be going through the same thing or know somebody going through something very similar. And so just the fact that you're able to open up and say that and let God flow through you, as you say, is amazing, man. And so honestly, we love to see it, man. We really do love to see it. I just have one question, just because you spoke about the loneliness, right? Yeah. You did mention, of course, that nobody knew you were lonely in them times. So my question is, how did you carry that loneliness? Like, how did you deal with that with nobody around to kind of assist you with that? So
during this time, what actually happened is I went to, maybe it was an open circle event, maybe OCX or something. I can't remember what it was. Okay. And somebody came to me and gave me a word and told me a lot of stuff. In the middle of that, said to me, I see you when you're lonely and crying in your room, and I need you to talk to me. You're not alone. I'm with you. I need you to speak to me. So I think that if he hadn't told me that, or someone had told me that, I don't know if I would have recovered from the loneliness. But from there, I was like, okay, the times where I am on my own and there is nobody there, God is there for me. And this is when I started practicing talking to God and waiting for a response and hearing back from God. And I remember during this time that I was practicing it, obviously the devil was like telling me that I was schizophrenic. So I was like, wow. You're hearing things.
Crazy.
You're not talking to God, you're hearing things. So I was like on two minds. I was like, am I like okay? Or is this normal? But genuinely, I wasn't lonely anymore because I was with God. 24/7 I was with God. I was talking to God 24/7.
The question is, what does the future look like for you?
The future?
Yeah. What do you think God has in store for you, like coming, you know?
I don't know, but I know it's something amazing. Whatever it is, I know it's something spectacular. And I know I tend to sell myself short in a lot of aspects, but I know that what God has for me, because he's giving me, he's going to tell me a little bit, but I know what he has in store for me. I can't even physically, like mentally imagine, like I can't even picture it. It's that great. But I know that I'm going to be very out there. That's what I'll say.
And we're excited to see it, man. Yeah. Really excited to see it. So listen, I'm going to wrap the conversation up there, but I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much. And I've actually wanted to say this to you for ages. I just haven't seen you, right? One thing I respect about you so much is obviously with your prophetic gifting, right? You don't shy away from nothing. Like, God gives you a word to say to somebody, you're running up, you're spilling all the beans, you're spilling all the tea with them. And I love it so much because one thing is with prophetic gifting, sometimes people are shy, like, but you don't have that. Like, you're like, no, God said this, guys. So I love to see that so much in you. I love to see the fact that you're walking in who you are in your identity with Christ. I love to see that you're walking in the fullness of the deliverance. I love to see you doing your thing. Even the fact that you live in Germany, separately, crazy.
I'm back now, by the way. I'm back. It was a 3-month thing.
Okay. It didn't look like a 3-month. It felt like an 8. Like, bro, it felt like you were there for ages.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was, but thank God.
Thank God for that. And so, like, just looking at everything, it's just like your life is evidence of the glory of God. It really is. Do you get what I'm saying? And so we're so happy to see that. Thank you. So my last question.
I'm so happy as well to see you doing this.
Yuck.
Yuck. I'm so happy and I'm so excited for where it's going to go because it's going to go very far.
Hope
and
so.
I just pray that, that you continue to, I guess, have the confidence to do what you do and not shy away. And when you need to do something, just get it done and do it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I will. And so my last question is, if somebody watching is going to take one thing away from this video, what do you want them to take away?
I think I should make a conclusion on everything I said in regards to like my health and my miscarriage and whatever and all that type of stuff. In regards to shame, I felt a lot of shame during that time. I felt like I had to hide a lot of this stuff. When it came to me ever wanting to speak out about it, I'm like, I just want to say, shame is not like from God. God will never put you to shame. There's a lot of people who have experienced the type of things that I've experienced, who suffer in silence, who will never speak out because they're like, people are going to judge me, people are going to whatever. And it's just so important to be able to go out and get the help that you need, like in regards to your mental health, in regards to your spiritual health. Most importantly, go to God and let him like heal you. Never be too, you can't be, it's God. Don't be too ashamed to go back to your Father. He's always there waiting for you with open arms. And I promise you, there is healing in the blood of Jesus that you can tap into.
Absolutely.
It's there waiting for you, so please go. It's free. Go get it.
So, listen, Ayo, once again, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm so excited to see everybody this is going to impact. And yeah, guys, listen, this has been Burning with Beebs. And see you in the next episode. Peace. That was amazing.